Hi, I'm Jordan Helmosman, science writer, founder, and prime ideological formulator of the YouTube channel known as Earth Under Emergency. It is my intention for this YouTube channel to morph into and fund itself as a PAC, a political action committee of the same name. The purpose of the PAC will be to educate the public about the seriousness of environmental issues and the science behind them, particularly those that have been aggravated by the policies of the Trump administration. Further, Earth Under Emergency expects to guide the current leadership of our country by pointing out what it would mean to take stringent enough actions to rescue ourselves and the planet. To back up my claim that Donald Trump's policies have aggravated environmental problems, I invite you to take a look at 100 specific actions the Trump administration took to roll back regulations protecting the environment. This list was put together by the New York Times. I will be using it as a guide. There are several of these problems, and some of these form a chain of cause and effect relationships, such as the rolling back of regulations on emissions leading to the accumulation of greenhouse gases, leading to the melting of glaciers, leading to significant sea level rise. Another one of these cause and effect chains has been showing up recently in the wildfires in California. It begins with rising temperatures, which lead to the evaporation of moisture, which lead to the drying out of the soil, which makes vegetation more flammable. The fires that result from this are not the same as the naturally occurring wildfires that have beneficial effects on the forest ecosystems that have flora and fauna that evolved in adaptation to fire. It does not make sense to say that science doesn't know why the fires occurred, or how to reduce the likelihood of them occurring, or what to do about them if and when they do occur. Science is an extremely careful process of observation guided by reason. Particularly in the case of fire, the meteorological history and records of fires are pointing to climate change as the ultimate cause. One extremely well-known problem was the hole in the ozone layer. To give you a little background, the hole in the ozone layer was discovered in 1985. It was a heavy-duty depletion of ozone detected over Antarctica. It was found that the drop in ozone was caused by chlorofluorocarbons. These are man-made chemical compounds. Why was this a problem? Ozone forms a protective layer of the atmosphere that absorbs ultraviolet light from the sun. Chlorofluorocarbons eat away at the ozone, creating an opening that allows too much ultraviolet radiation into the Earth's atmosphere. Exposure to this radiation could lead to increased incidences of skin cancer, and the allowance of UV light into the atmosphere could contribute to additional global warming. The international community regulated the production of chlorofluorocarbons by adopting a measure known as the Montreal Protocol. The Montreal Protocol was enacted in 1987. NASA has been tracking the healing of the ozone layer and has noticed that the hole has become smaller. Recently, it has been reported that the hole has closed up. This means that environmental regulations such as the Montreal Protocol can be successful. At Earth Under Emergency, we are concerned that if the winds of political change are going in the wrong direction again, environmental regulations such as the Montreal Protocol could be overturned, and when the production of chemicals like chlorofluorocarbons are no longer limited, the hole in the ozone layer could return. When added to the other sets of environmental issues that make up climate change and its consequences, this could accelerate climate change and make it worse. The Trump administration's repealing of rules such as the one limiting the emission of hydrofluorocarbons from large refrigeration and AC units in combination with similar rollbacks of environmental regulations could send us spiraling into a condition that we might not be able to recover from. Specific environmental problems will be covered in subsequent videos. Not every single Republican is anti-environment, but it appears that the modern state of affairs of the Republican Party is not conducive to believing in a healthy environment. Back when W was in office and was opening the Arctic Wildlife Refuge for oil drilling, an organization calling itself Republicans for Environmental Protection looked around and realized that the Republican Party had a lousy record on environmental issues. They subsequently left the party and changed their name to reflect that. They called themselves Conserve America. The words conserve and America jammed together, minus the E at the end of conserve. Conserve as in conservation and conserve as in conservatism, this suggested that they believed that political conservatism was a better vehicle for environmentalism than liberalism. I called these people eco-conservatives and was open for them to have a dialogue with me, especially since I believed that the private sector generated some of the best solutions to environmental problems through green technology and clean energy. At that time, I even went so far as to suggest that if Conserve America would form its own political party, and the Republican Party melted into a puddle of wax, and if the Democratic Party had taken over all branches of government and failed to deliver on their own environmental promises, that I might go independent and vote back and forth between the two parties, as they competed to show the public which had the better environmentalist platform. I've long since abandoned that idea because of examples such as the following. Often conservatives oppose government regulation. Prior to the creation of the EPA and the Clean Water Act, certain bodies of water were heavily polluted to a visibly monstrous degree. One of these was the Cuyahoga River in Cleveland in 1967. Right now, it is of the utmost importance that we repair the damage to the Earth's ecosystems and hold on to that as a permanent condition, despite the fact that some things are never going to be replaced. There seems to be a centrist swing voter-like quality to the American electorate, if not a dialectic of history, like a pendulum. Democrats win some. Republicans win some. Some of you may think this is a natural pattern. Ho-hum and well. That's democracy. I seriously beg to differ. Every time the Republicans win, they enact measures allowing industries the freedom to pollute and undo protections that the Democrats put in place. The oscillation between one party and the other winning the elections does not ensure that we have a clean and healthy planet. You can't say we'll just sit it out until we run again and reverse the damage. There will be net residual damage on a level that may be impossible to repair. Who knows to what extent the second law of thermodynamics may be ensuring that? With the continued oscillation of voting between the parties over time, there will be an accrual of residual damage that will be irreparable. If a regime comes to power that is similar to the administration of George W. Bush or Donald Trump, who knows if the hole in the ozone layer might return and if several other problems might be exacerbated. It might not be long before the planet becomes uninhabitable. At least, George W. Bush supported wind power in the state of Texas. On the other hand, he worked in the oil industry. Who knows how bad things can get when the environment is neglected, disrespected, or the facts ignored? We have yet to get into the details of the multiple problems relating to pollution of the oceans. As I was saying, there is a tremendous amount at stake, and unaffordable losses that could become permanent. A quick example that comes to mind is the possible extinction of bees. The American voting public needs to be fully educated, and the critical need to take care of the planet needs to be forcibly impressed on them. Therefore, I want to introduce the Earth Under Emergency YouTube channel.